Valley Talk on News Talk 1580 KGAL.
And welcome to Valley Talk. What a difference a day makes. A little cloudy this morning. Not yesterday. It was beautiful sunny weather. Today, but that's why things are so nice and green here in the Mid-Willamette Valley, because we have all this moisture. In Oregon, all together now, we call it liquid sunshine.
I'm going to watch your evolution for this spring season. This is your first spring here, right?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Well,
no, this is second, but I'm still not what you would call a native.
Okay, let me give you just a little recipe here, okay? March comes in like a lamb. It's going to go out like a lion. And there's a reason that they say April showers bring May flowers. It's just to give you a little clue of what's ahead for you.
More water, but that's okay.
Really enjoy this.
But then flowers all the way till October.
Oh, man.
Can't beat the
mint,
valley.
When they harvest the mint, that's the best.
But the thing I love about here in the valley is the rhododendrons.
Oh, yeah.
When the flowers come out in the spring here, man. And I've lived for 9 months in New Zealand, so it's beautiful over there. But, and I know we're on the internet, and I know I have some friends in New Zealand. I don't think they're listening today, but they might hear it on the internet. When the Mid-Willamette Valley is in bloom, sorry, New Zealand, it's beautiful here. I would say more beautiful than in New Zealand, although that's nothing to sneeze at either.
No, there's different shades of green. That's what I like about the valley. There's so many different shades of green.
You need to write a book called that, Different Shades of Green.
On the stock market.
Oh, instead of different shades of gray, or was it 60 Shades of Gray?
Something like that.
The other perspective is to fly into the valley after you've been in either Southern California or in Colorado, and then you see it's green, it's lush.
Yeah.
It's just feels clean.
Yeah, it does.
Well, when you fly into LAX, you have to take a deep breath before you go into the smog layer. But anyway, this is Valley Talk. We digress. I hope you're enjoying the weather. It's green here, beautiful, and some liquid sunshine. Enjoying that. Also enjoying Quiznos, and they are a Valley Talk sponsor. Simply send me an email, dave@kgal.com, or call the station at 451-KGAL or 926-KGAL. Do so in the next 52 minutes. And at the end of the show today, we're going to draw another certificate out of the hat. And that person will get a $10 gift certificate from Quiznos in Albany. That's next to Novak's Restaurant and next to the former G.I. Joe Sporting Goods location. And the $10 gift certificate will allow you to your choice of subs or drinks or chips. Take a buddy in there, and the taste is on us because it's Quiznos. And you hopefully will be the Valley Talk winner for today. Again, dave@kgal.com, or you can call the station at 926-KGAL or 451-KGAL. We'll be drawing for that in about 51 minutes at the end of the show. Good luck. Today, we are talking tax time again with Robert White, who is an enrolled tax agent with H&R Block. Robert, glad to have you with us on the show today. One of the things that we're trying to do formatically as we set this up is every Tuesday we talk to John Gibson, our average investment guy. And John, we got to talk about the stock market. Things are going good. I'm seeing people smiling today. We're smiling here in the studios, coming in saying, hey, you got money in the stock market? What's going on?
Oh, we hit an all-time high. I mean, it's back in 2008, I think, was the last time we hit the all-time high, or was it 2006 or 7? So we've been in this bathtub for about 6 or 7 years, and now we've just now finally came out the other side, and we're back to where we were. So it's an amazing thing. The market, for all of the talk for the last 2 weeks of gloom and doom and all this other stuff, when you watch I like CNBC and I like Fox Business News, but I like Fox Business News better. I just don't like their ticker. You can never tell what political party these economists are who are on these shows.
And that's the way it should be.
And that's the way it should be. And what they were saying was, it's a very small thing. And the stock market, numbers don't lie unless you're manipulating them, But if you just, like Robert, when you give Robert numbers, they don't lie. They come out and you owe this amount or you get this much back, and that's the way it is. So that's the way the market does. And then what we saw today was a total repudiation of all this hysteria of stuff, and the market's going, as long as you're going to provide low interest rates, then we're guaranteed going ahead of what we have to work with. We saw the blimp 2 weeks ago in the stock market when one of the Federal Reserve guys came out and said, maybe if the banks make a little more money this month, we should give them a little less. And boy, the market did not like that. So now we had another Federal Reserve come out, I think it was earlier this week or maybe late last week, And he wants zero rates until unemployment is at 5.5%, even lower than previous. And now, look, the market's at an all-time high. You give them certainty, they're going to go make money. As soon as they don't really have the certainty, they're going to take their money and go home. And so right now, they're having fun.
Now, there's got to be people out there with neck strain right now, because for the last few days, we were hearing all this gloom and doom about sequesters coming in, sequester, tax cuts, or not tax cuts, but spending cuts. It's going downhill from here, and then today they get up, turn on the news, we're in the money, we're in the money, and people are going, what is going on here?
Well, for all of
explain that to the average person who's not a follower of the stock market.
Well, there's a lot of statistics that come out that you never hear about. Okay, so while all this hysteria was going on, today we find out that there's this thing called the ISM Index. Okay, it's just an Institute of Supply Management is what it stands for. But there's two of them. The one measures the manufacturing of the country, and the other measures the services of the country. Like Robert is a service. He provides services. He doesn't make anything per se. He doesn't make a widget. He tells you how much you made on your widget. So he's a service person. His category came in pretty good today. Home prices are up. I believe it was up 16% year to date. So you're getting this information that these economist guys get, and then they call their stock people, and the stock people adjust the portfolios, and that's why you see some stocks up, some stocks down, based on performance of the individual stock and based on the overall environment of the economy, what the Federal Reserve tells you to do, because they have two jobs. Our Federal Reserve, they're there to provide full employment and to control inflation. So right now, they're controlling inflation in a way that scares me, but like I was talking to Robert before, Don Henley had this great line on these stock market bubbles. You want to ride that wave until it hits the beach. I got out a little early a couple of weeks ago, but I'm trying to buy a house, so I needed the money. Had I not needed the money, I'd have still been in the stock market, and I would have really benefited from it. So, but when do you go, okay, that's it? Look at Apple. 2 months ago, Apple was at $800, $700. Today, it's at $450. When do you jump off the beach? Off the wave. So, like Robert said, he stayed in his whole life, and even though he's back to where he was back in 2007, he started back when 20, 25. Mm-hmm. So that's what you call long-term accrual. And it's in the last few years of his, not the last few years.
Thank you.
But it's towards the end of the investment.
You know something about Robert we don't know.
But you get that exponential growth, right? At the very end, mm-hmm. That's when you really get the big, huge increases in your portfolio. So
the compounding interest.
The compounding interest, yeah. So that's how it works. It's just based on an individual stock and the overall environment that you find yourself. If we had 12% inflation, it would be a whole different matter. But we have, 1.5% inflation? 3% inflation right now, overall.
Long-term, the stock market is a long-term investment. Don't you agree? If you're faint of heart, boy, you better have a lot of Valium around as you're riding this roller coaster, especially right now.
It is a long-term investment, but if you get to a certain point, like I did, I had a goal. And once I got to that certain point, I cut off $25,000, and it was like Vegas, baby. I'd get up in the morning, I'd buy IBM and sell it at close and make $200, and I'd made some pretty good money doing that. But I was single. I had a good income. I didn't have any debt. Now I have a beautiful woman and the best step kid ever. I'm looking at college. So now I'm not going to play with money like that. You don't invest money that you're going to need in 3-4 years.
Bingo. That was something I was going to bring up. So investing money in the stock market is kind of like, I hate to use this analogy, and excuse me for using it, but it's kind of like gambling, where you go to Vegas or you go to the casinos or whatever. You go in with a set-aside money, and this is the money I am set to lose, or I'm okay with losing. You don't take the grocery money. You don't take the money for the house payment. You don't take the money for the car loan and bank it all and let it ride.
The only difference is I have a right to look at IBM's books. I don't have a right to look at Sam's Casino's books, know.
Yeah. But my point is that you have this money that you can invest that is discretionary, as expendable. If you have a really, really bad experience, you can lose it and life won't end.
Right.
Is that how you should do the stock market
That's
as
what
well?
I would always do that. Not only that.
So you can
Don't
take
even-
let's say you made a lot of money in the stock market. Take that and reinvest it and let it ride and invest it and use that pool of money to keep investing in the stock market. And don't take from the kids' college fund and the money that you're going to use to pay your car payment this month. And throw it in the stock market.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, what I would do is not even worry about the stock market. I would just put it in they have these things called exchange traded funds. And it's a basket of technology stocks. There's one for the S&P 500. There's just a basket of the S&P 500 stocks. So when you're driving down the road and you hear that the S&P 500 is up today, then you know that you made money. If it's down today, then, don't go get a milkshake and drown your sorrows or anything. It'll come back. But, it can be so easy. And in my fund, I pay 1/3 of 1% for a fee, for an annual fee. I pay 1/3 of 1%. You can't get much cheaper than that.
Interesting on the stock market. I was talking to a guy who was selling samples at a local big box store. I won't tell you which one. He was working for minimum wage, and he invested a lot of his money aggressively in retirement funds. And he said, 6 months ago, I was living the life of Riley. I was not super rich, but I was comfortable. And when everything tanked, he said my investment, which was aggressively invested, didn't decrease. It went to zero. It vanished. And I'm here working for minimum wage. And I hate to see somebody like that, because he'd worked his whole life, was a little bit aggressive in his investments, obviously didn't make the right decisions, threw the dice, didn't come out right, and so now he's working for minimum wage. That happens.
It happens. I remember, I think the most egregious thing I saw in my lifetime was Enron. And I saw this old guy testifying before Congress, and he said, 3 months ago I was a multimillionaire, and today I'm broke. I had every dime. They told me to invest my money in Enron. Now, number one, that's the very first criminal act. You should tell your employees, hey, we're good, but so's Intel and IBM, you need to diversify. I know people at HP that had only HP stock. It went to like 150 or something like that. Now it's down to like 17, and that's their retirement. So it's very, very, very important to take it seriously. And it's very important, if you're not going to make it a hobby and enjoy doing it, do like what Robert does. He has a broker. He's happy. He feels like he's got a great deal. And that's what you should do. To me, it's a soap opera. It's a hobby. And I would like nothing better than to sit next to Alan Greenspan or some other economist guy and fly all around the country and just listen, But there's very safe ways to invest. And if you have any questions, just call the station and ask me a question, and I'll somehow get back to you. And
if you want to send an email today, we would check an email right now, dave@kgal.com, which is also the same email address for the Quiznos Taste on Us. Just put that on the subject line, dave@kgal.com. If you have a question for Robert, when we're going to talk to you after the commercial break, or John about the stock market, or the economy, or whatever, feel free to drop us a line, dave@kgal.com. Robert White, he is an enrolled tax agent with H&R Block. What we're doing in concert with H&R Block is bringing him twice a month to talk about what you should be aware of this year, because there's some differences. There's been a lot of talk in the news about tax rates. Things were delayed a little bit. And so there's a lot of discussion about what's going on with your taxes. So that's why we decided to bring Robert in and talk about that. We're bringing him twice a month today, and also this month it's going to be the third. The third Tuesday of the month, which is the 19th. So it's today and the 19th. Now next month, because April 15th is, because of the way the scheduling works out, because April 15th is the middle of the month, that's tax day. You have to have filed by
Crunch
then.
day.
Crunch day. So next month in April, we're bringing in Robert the first and second Tuesday, which will be April 2nd and April 9th, because we want to bring him in before April 15th. We don't want to bring him in on the 16th, because I think he's going to be in Bermuda or someplace.
Well, I shall be working.
Will you?
Yeah, we have to follow up on all the returns we processed on the 15th. We have to make sure everything went smoothly.
So this month he'll be here on March 19th, and he's also going to be with us right after the break. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk about charitable contributions. What is a charity? You invest your money in nonprofits. Oh, write it off my taxes. Good thing, bad thing. Charities love it. But can you write that off your taxes? And what are the criteria you need to look for to decide if it is a charitable institution where you can write it off your taxes? We're going to talk about that in just a moment. This is Valley Talk. I'm Dave Adams with Robert White, John Gibson. We'll be right back.
Banking these days can be pretty impersonal. You've got your big banks, your internet banks, your do-it-yourself banks, and your too big to fail banks. That's wwhy you might be interested in an alternative. Willamette Community Bank. Hello, this is Bill Higbee, residential lender. You deserve better service without sacrificing a thing. So if you're feeling underserved, make the switch to the best banking option out there with branches in Albany and Lebanon.
Willamette Community Bank. Service like no other. We promise. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Going out to lunch at a nice restaurant can be expensive, and the big portions put you more in the mood for a nap than a productive afternoon. Mama's Fine Italian to the rescue. The small appetite senior menu is just right. Anyone and everyone is invited to order from the Light Appetites menu for lunch from 11 to 4 p.m. with tasty entrees beginning at only $3.95. Why go hungry or go anywhere else for lunch? Eat healthy, eat light at Mama's. Closed Sunday and Monday, so make the most of Tuesday through Friday and join your friends at Mama's for lunch. Dinner only on Saturday. Mama's features charbroiled steaks every day. Make reservations for dinner or pick up a bottle of fine wine. Seating is limited, so please call for reservations. 541-451-5050. That's 451-5050. Mama's Fine Italian and Wine Shop on West Oak between Main and 2nd in Lebanon, across from the Big Blue Napa Auto Parts Building.
Just 2 programs remain in this year's concert season of the Corvallis OSU Symphony Orchestra. The next performance is Friday evening, March 15th, 7:30 in the LaSalle Stewart Center. Under the direction of conductor Stephen Zilke, the orchestra and the OSU Chamber Choir will perform Bach's St. Matthew Passion. The Passion, written in 1727, sets to music chapters 26 and 27 of the Gospel of Matthew. It is regarded as one of the masterpieces of classical sacred music. Tickets are available at Grace Winds Music and Grassroots Books and Music in Corvallis, and they're available online at cosusymphony.org. The Corvallis OSU Symphony Orchestra invites you to bring the entire family to this special performance, Bach's St. Matthew Passion, Friday evening, March 15th, 7:30 in the LaSalle Stewart Center on the OSU campus.
Hey, could you give me a hand with this crossword puzzle? I can't seem to get this one last clue. It says, with 30 years of radiator service experience?
Sure, that's an easy one. Wacoma Auto Repair, of course.
Who? Wacoma Auto Repair, a TechNet professional auto service in Benton County's only complete radiator shop, providing repairs on all autos, trucks, and even tractors. Call 541-754-2812. Wacoma Auto Center in Corvallis on Cornell, just off 9th Street, down from Goodwill, or visit wacomaauto.com.
Your voice of reason in the West is Hugh Hewitt. Weekday afternoons at 3 on Smart Talk 1580.
This is Valley Talk. Thank you for being with us today. Don't forget to sign up for Quiznos Taste on Us. Somebody's going to get a $10 gift certificate at the end of the show today. Could be you. Send me an email, dave@kgal.com, or call the radio station at 926-KGAL, 451-KGAL. Say you are interested in Quiznos Taste on Us. In the studio today, Robert White, an enrolled tax agent with H&R Block, here to give us tax tips. He'll be here again March 19th. That's the 3rd Tuesday of this month. And then next month, mark your calendar, he's going to be here April 2nd and 9th, which is the 1st and 2nd Tuesdays in April, because we want to get him in both times that month before April 15th. Now, April 15th is right in the middle of the month. It's the 3rd Monday of April, and it's, it's kind of sneaking up on us. So, John Gibson with us in the studios as well.
15th is like my New Year's Day, because I pay estimates, right?
Yeah.
So, come April 15th, it's a brand new tax year, I'm all done. So people like Robert are just, my accountant gets a box of candy. I don't know
What are you doing day after April 16th? What are you doing?
I'll be at the office working. Because as I mentioned, all those returns that were processed on the 15th, we have to go back in and make sure everything went through smoothly. Sometimes something it's not unusual for something to come back if someone maybe had a different type of name that wasn't what they told us wasn't exactly correct. Or I'll give you an example. We had someone yesterday, the return is rejected by the IRS, and we went back and forth with them and said it was saying that one of the dependents had the wrong number, and said, no, it's right. And we said, please, go pull out the Social Security card number and tell me what number you have. He said, oh, it was the wrong number by one digit.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. So, and that's...
Missed it by that much.
So we have to... We don't assume or take it for granted. Everything has gone through smoothly. We go through every day, and we have to check returns, make sure everything went through smooth. Everything has gone through, it's accepted, and monitored, and et cetera. And then we have people wandering the day after this and want to still file returns. I mean, we are very busy. I'm one of the year-round employees, and we are busy all year long. People walking in a month later, they may walk in and say, well, I've got 3 years of returns, I guess I better do it. Okay.
Wow.
April 16th.
Or May 1st.
Wow.
Or something like that. It's not unusual.
My.
Let's talk about charitable contributions. What is a charity? I say, well, I'm a good guy. I like helping feed the homeless and put clothes on the backs of people that don't have a home. And so, yeah, this sounds like a good thing. So I scratch it on my napkin, gave $100 to, the local shelter. And I stick that in my shoebox. It says charitable contributions. So at the end of the, sometime here in the next couple of days, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to dump that shoebox on your desk, and it's going to have all these napkins, and it says $100 to XYZ food shelter.
Okay.
And what do you say?
Well, first I see what food you spilled on the napkin. And the reason I brought this up originally is I've talked to some people this week, and even in our own office, you sit around and have a discussion, someone will say, well, that's a good thing. We should give money to that. That's a good thing. And then we can take it as a tax deduction. And someone gave me an example. I said, well, no, you can't. So the issue is charity and giving money to people in need is wonderful. It's absolutely, don't stop doing that. But if with regards to whether you can take it as a deduction, is very specific. That organization must be recognized and approved by the IRS. It's that simple. They have to. That's why we always hear the terms 501(c)(3)s. These are terms, but if they are a recognized nonprofit organization, examples are churches, synagogues, mosques, fraternal orders, Boys and Girls Club, Boy Scouts. They are established. They do their paperwork. If you donate to them, then you can deduct the money.
What if they're donating to a small ministry or a small group, and they're told and they're making a sizable contribution to them that they can take it off their taxes? If they want to see a number, and do they need to see paperwork? Do they need to see a 92 number or 82 number? Or typically, what do they need?
If they're making a sizable contribution, then they should ask, what is your official status? Under what guidelines have you, meaning the organization, filed? And as we just mentioned off the air also, it's also asked if it's current. And this happens in so many nonprofit. I've been on nonprofit boards. You've been on nonprofit boards. Yes. Nonprofit boards are filled by volunteers because nonprofits don't have any money. If they do not file an annual report 3 years in a row, they can lose their exemption status. That means, in turn, that someone gives money to that organization, they cannot legally take the deduction, and in turn, that organization is supposed to be reporting it as income. So that's another thing, and so that's the key thing. Are they current on their filing? The more established ones are. They're used to it, but it's the small ones that get into trouble, and we're often having to suddenly help. They walk in. We have, the volunteer board member that knew a little bit of accounting comes in and said, "I just realized we haven't been filing our returns." And it's not they're not paying taxes, but they have to file an annual report.
Now, if you make a contribution, isn't there something over 250? Don't you need a letter from the...
Actually, I'm going to go through that.
Oh, okay.
So that's a good question. That is an excellent question. So essentially, the key thing is if you're going to take a deduction, it has to be an eligible institution or entity to allow you to take the deduction. I'll digress.
For example, here's a card here on a ministry that I used to do. We're not continuing the nonprofit in 2013, but part of the verbiage on the card that we present to people that donated to the ministry that I owned and was the pastor of. It's a chartered, subordinate 501c3 organization in good standing with its parent organization. It's listed, their EIN number listed, their group number is listed, and thus is considered by the IRS as a nonprofit 990-06 organization.
Perfect. That's ideal.
But this is dated 2012, so for donations in 2013, this doesn't work.
But it would
for take off the taxes.
But in typically most organizations, especially that level, are
ongoing.
Yeah, ongoing. It's the really little tiny ones that I get worried about. But that's
for example, if Uncle Ted was having a hard time and I paid Uncle Ted's rent for a couple months and I tried to take that off my taxes, it doesn't work.
You're a nice guy, but it doesn't work as far as the IRS is concerned.
There you go.
And in the common one, we'll see someone steps up and they say that someone is having a hard time at the end of this. They're down and out, and they need and they need some money, and people throw money in the hat and they want to help them out, and it's a great thing. But you can't take it off. It's not. The other big one is you cannot deduct a foreign charity. So if it's an overseas charity, now a lot of times you'll see them advertised to help these people in another country. The question asked: are they under the auspices or a guideline of a U.S. organization?
Yeah, you're talking about those, like feed the little kid for $1 a day.
Most of them are under the umbrella of an organization. For example, I'm very familiar with Rotary, because I've been for a long time, and they send money all over the world. But it's under the domestic auspices or control. So that's the key thing. If you're making a donation overseas, usually they are under the umbrella of some local part, and that makes it work.
But that would be a key question when you called up that whatever organization that you want to give money to.
What's your status with the IRS?
Yeah, that would be a key.
Now I'm not picking on this organization, but it's a great example of a positive example. It's Save the Children. We've heard a lot about that.
Yes, sir.
And so you go down to the website, went to the website, savethechildren.org, I believe. Yeah, savethechildren.org. Very bottom of the website. Save the Children. It gives 54 Wilton Road, Westport, Connecticut. It's a 501c3 organization. Gifts are deductible to the full extent allowable under IRS regulations. So even though they're helping kids overseas, they are a Connecticut company that, at least purporting to their website, says that they fall under the auspices of being able to deduct.
I had a client that came in that gives a very generous family. They donate money all over, and they said, well, we've been giving to an orphanage in India. I said, you need to check on the status. And they came back and said, we found out they do not qualify. So that's an example, because they were pure.
So especially with the internet, if somebody has contacted you from India, and you're sending the money directly to India, and they are not an American corporation.
That's right, you cannot deduct it.
But if let's say they're under the auspices of a local church, which a lot of them are. Now, if you're deducting through the local church, and the local church pays it, and then the local church gives you a receipt at the end of the year, that would be allowable,
yes,
I would think.
That's exactly.
But if you're sending it directly to India,
that you don't get it.
Probably not.
Of course, then there's always the emails from Nigeria where you can invest money.
He said that in jest, folks.
Yes. Yeah.
Before we leave this,
watch out for the things from Nigeria.
That's right.
Watch out for those.
Yes.
Now, on a mortgage, I like to bring this up to people because, I think they should be informed. I hate to do this with charity because I might make it less likely for them to give to charity. But I think it's important for people to know that, say that you're in the 28% tax bracket, just to make something up, and you donate $100 to a charity, you're only getting to write off like $28, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I just want people to know that just because you give $100 and math-wise, it doesn't come out dollar for dollar. So I just think it's information people should have.
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead with your list.
Okay, so we've sort of identified what counts, and then the other question: what is deductible? And most common is we say cash. Now, cash is a lump sum for check, money orders, credit card, anything like that sort. People give property, donate items. You can do another type of donation is out-of-pocket expenses when you're a volunteer. You go and help at your church, and you have to drive. You can deduct mileage. Or I have one client that donates toner and paper and things for the church copier. They spent money on this. and again, it's basically, think in terms of out of pocket.
So how did they prove that he took the toner that he purchased and took it to the church? I mean,
usually the church will give a letter or some simple. It doesn't.
You should cover your tracks.
Cover your track. It should be something in writing.
Okay.
And also another thing is your deductions. If your volunteer expenses when you're away from home. Now, when you do that, you can deduct transportation and meals and lodging. So I know some clients that travel on missionary work to another country. So as soon as they fly down, and again, it has to be it can't be on a cruise ship and they stop one day off at that. Maybe the one day can be deducted, but it's been tried. It's the idea that they fly down. I think some people go to Central America, they fly down, they spend a week really working, and they fly back. Well, then they can deduct all of those costs because they're away from home.
So the Carnival Cruise Line ticket around the Mediterranean...
probably a red flag.
Probably a red flag.
Yes, exactly. A very common one, and we get asked all the time, is someone says, well, I donated my time. There's no there's value on time, it's just IRS doesn't recognize it. Right. So an example of that is time or services. So let's say you hear this all the time. So-and-so has a condominium they rent. Just vacation place on the coast, and so you see the raffles, and so-and-so's will provide their condo for 1 week for whoever wins this. The person, you cannot donate the time that condo is. You say you gave it away for a week. That's not a deduction, legal deduction.
Not a charity.
That's not a charity. Yeah, you can't deduct it. You can't deduct it as a charity, even though you gave it away for a week's use.
Right.
Because one way to think of it is you're on a cash basis. You never received the money, so how can you give it away? So,
now, is there any other way?
If they'd rented off to regular Joe Blow, they would have got money for it, and instead of getting income from that property, they forego that and they gave it to the charity.
But that's the idea of time or services of an individual are not a.
Is there any other place to write that off? Or is that just a good deed?
That's a good deed.
Okay.
You feel better, warm and fuzzy.
You feel good.
You feel good about it. The other common we see all the time. Raffles, bingos, lottery tickets. Those are not a deduction.
People try to write off lottery tickets?
Oh, yeah. well, if it's exactly. Well, lottery for like a church or mainly bingo type thing.
I see.
You can treat it as a gambling type approach, so you can deduct the cost against if you win something. Probably even more common is you buy the $200 ticket for the dinner and the ceremony, and it's probably a $15 rubber chicken dinner, I should say that way. But so if, let's say, a very common $100 banquet and the proceeds will help, you can only deduct the portion of the meal is not a deduction. So, and a lot of them, if you ask the fine print, they'll tell you what portion of the meal, what portion of the ticket was of food, and the other part can be counted as a deduction. So the idea is if you make a donation, the part that's a benefit to you, you have to remove. And I think the final example that will surprise a lot of people, Oregon Public Broadcasting. You make a donation.
Sure.
And they'll say, for this, if you make a $200 donation, we will give you a CD valued at $100. That means you can only write off $100 because you receive something of value or benefit worth $100. And that's, most people don't realize that as well. And the final one we talked about earlier, gifts to individuals. Someone's needy, they need it, fine, but you can't deduct gifts to an individual.
Right. And if you better cut them off before you pass 10,000, right? Because then you have to claim that, or they have to claim it.
It's about 13,000.
13,000. So Uncle Ted, I'd be getting him out of the house, man. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay tax on what you gave him.
Really?
The next is kind of, we're still good?
Let's go ahead and do a couple more. And we talked about examples. Again, cash is anything. It could be credit card. You keep a receipt. There's another thing that people used to remember years ago. As long as it was under $25, you didn't have to really have any kind of proof. Well, they've done away with that. If you're going to claim $1, you better have a receipt, canceled check, bank statement, something. For $1?
Any amount. I use $1, but it's any amount. You have to have some proof that you gave it. They won't accept.
Now, at Goodwill, you go down and they give you that card.
And that's another topic that we'll talk about. That.
Okay.
That's a non-cash donation.
Okay.
But on the money part, It's that part.
Okay.
That's great. And that's non-money is the same thing. If you go to it's contribution of property, and they will give you that card. And I tell people,
what is that card good for? Because they don't put a dollar amount on it.
They don't have to put a dollar amount, but it's proof that you were there on that date. And as long as and we'll talk about the levels, but depending on the level that you're going to claim, then you have to start talking about dollar figures. But typically, when items are donated, the deduction is fair market value. That's and most common. Goodwill, St. Vincent de Paul's, ARC, Humane Society. They have these things. They'll give you the card and they'll tell you, and some will give you a value, some don't. The key thing is that's your proof you did it. That's the number one proof on anything under.
Now, by proof you did it, mean take a picture of the items that you donated?
No, just that you were there.
Okay, the card.
If it's under $250, that's the key thing. You have to have a paper proof that you donated something, and they're not required to put a value on it under $250. It's just up to you to write something down, keep track of it.
Let's say I donated a T-shirt, and if it's under $250, let's say it's a $100 T-shirt. Not, folks, I didn't do this, but I'm
right. Hypothetically,
hypothetically, could they do that?
They could do it, but they might get. It's not correct.
Okay,
that's the thing.
They can do it.
That's a no, folks. Don't do it.
I mean, be square.
When we go through it, when I see the people come in, and I say, okay, we need to come up with values, and there's standards for fair market value.
Okay.
And we go through, and I said, and the point is, you're not trying to make a profit on these. You're just it's fair. But under $250, it's fairly easy. When you get between 500, if it's at any single item is more than 500, then you really need to have specific on there that what the value is that you've given. But usually on a Goodwill trip, it's less than 500 per trip, which is why you can get the card and you don't have to have the Goodwill put values on them. And then, so I'll have people they'll have 10. Well, my record so far this year has been 30 cards, 30 trips. But each one is under that value, so they're writing it in, and we're getting it all added up. It's when you have an individual items that are higher value, specifically, as soon as you hit $5,001, you need to have an appraisal attached to it.
So let's say I'm an artist and I made a piece that's worth, let's say it's $5,000.
Yeah,
that's what I value at. Or let's say it's right under that 5,001. It's $5,000. Let's say I'm a bronze sculptor and I've made a bronze head of, I don't know,
me,
John.
Yeah,
it looks very good.
Thank you.
By the way.
Yeah.
And I donated that to Boys and Girls Club.
You would need to have an independent appraisal. I'd still
even though you're below the
even though if I'm putting a number like that in bidder, I would have an independent appraisal of that item, showing that really is the market value of that.
And you can write that off with the appraisal guy, right?
Yes.
I mean,
no, not on a charity.
Okay.
If the appraisal, that's a excellent question. Thank you. Excellent question. The appraisal values are not a charitable deduction, but they are a deduction under miscellaneous expense.
Okay.
If you itemize the appraisal, obtaining appraisals for value of items. There's another variation on this. We'll talk. Cars are an exception, but the other we'll get to later.
We need to take a break here.
Let's go ahead.
We're talking to Robert White. He's an enrolled tax agent giving advice for us today on Valley Talk. He'll be here again later this month on Valley Talk. He will be here on the 19th of March, and then next month he will be here on the show the 2nd and 9th of April, which next month is the 1st and 2nd Tuesday of the month. We'll have more on Valley Talk in just a moment. Be right back.
The Osgood File, sponsored in part by Regis. Let Regis help you to focus on your business while they take care of your workspace needs. Get 2 months free on a fully wired and furnished office. Call 1-800-OFFICES. This is Charles Osgood. 2 British designers have come up with a wonderfully low-cost, low-tech, high-impact source of light for a third of the people on Earth. It requires no batteries, no kerosene or fuel of any kind, and there's no running out of what it runs on, which is gravity. Jim Reeves is one of the 2 creators.
So the product consists of the generator ambient light unit. It's shipped in a very robust bag which takes ballast. You take it out of its bag, you fill this bag with gravel, sand, soil. You attach the bag, you hang the product, and when you lift the bag, then you have your light source.
More after this. Businesses, from startups to Fortune 500 firms, have something in common. They're intentional. They focus on success and they don't get distracted. And many successful businesses have something else in common. They work from a Regis office. Your beautifully furnished wired Regis office can be ready when you need it, with a receptionist, access to meeting rooms, and state-of-the-art video conferencing, all with no long-term lease. Regis is the new way to work. Call 1-800-OFFICES and get 2 months free when you mention Osgood. That's 1-800-OFFICES. In this moment, who has your back? An insurance company delivering excellence during your claims process? Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. Let an Auto Owners independent insurance agent have your back, so when the unthinkable happens, you get the claim service you deserve. For J.D. Power and Associates award information, go to jdpower.com. Find your local independent agent at autoowners.com. The Gravity Light is designed to sell for around $5. Each 3-second pull on the bag produces a half hour of useful light. It's cheaper than solar technology. Co-creator Martin Ritterford can explain that.
The trouble with solar technology is that you have to charge a battery with the solar power that you've gained from the sun, then use the battery power to power at night. So it was really important to find the cheapest way of supplying reasonable quality light to these people.
To these people, the Gravity Light can be a giant leap forward. Right now, says Jim Reeves,
A third of the world's population is off-grid. So you've got large communities across Africa and India and South America and even Northern Europe and into Russia where power is either intermittent or absent. So we want to take a large number of the devices out to the intended end users, get feedback on how the product would perform in the field. It's very different from the conventional solutions that people will be familiar with.
to them, changing the world is, to use our late colleague Eric Severeid's phrase, not so wild a dream. The Osgood File. I'll see you on the television come Sunday morning on CBS. This is Charles Osgood on the CBS Radio Network.
The Shed Institute is pleased to present Siri Vick in My Funny Valentine, a revisioning of her touching spring 2012 tribute to Lorenz Hart. Where or when? The witty, lighthearted, and at times gentle, haunting, and deeply sad lyrics of Lorenz Hart have often graced the Shed. Yet there is also something very special about Lorenz Hart that's perfect for Siri Vick. Witty, playful, and oh so cool, these songs are as often love songs as any other popular genre. Yet at the same time, snuck in among those multi-syllabic rhymes, folded in with the double entendres and the endless embrace of popular culture. There was no one who did this more or better than Lorenz Hart. And there is no one better than Siri Vick to reintroduce the man and his lyrics in the full range of their mood, technique, and spirit. For tickets and information, call 541-434-7000. The Shed Institute presents Siri Vick in My Funny Valentine this Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. at the LaSalle Stewart Center on the OSU campus.
The Albany Public Schools Foundation presents the iRun. Don't be confused, this is not a new exercise device. This is the iRun for Kids 5K Run Walk and 10-mile run on Saturday, March 16th for the Albany Public Schools Foundation. Register online at albanypublicschoolsfoundation.org. iRun for Kids proceeds support Albany Public Schools Foundation's Classroom Grants Program, enriching the education opportunities for Albany Public School District students. Let's run together.
The news you need, smart talk, and just enough sports. That's what you'll get from News Talk 1580, KGAL.
Back on Valley Talk, Dave Adams here with Robert White, an enrolled tax agent with H&R Block. In the studios with us as well, John Gibson. Now, Robert, we were talking about charitable contributions, what to watch, what to do and not do. Let's continue with our list.
Okay, a couple things. Organizing my thoughts. Briefly, I want to mention on volunteering time. If you're using the auto, the mileage, it's 14 cents per mile. If you deduct mile when you volunteer use of your car, that's different than the business one of 50, 55. So you need
quite a bit less.
Yes, but you keep track of your miles. The other thing I wanted to point out is when you donate items, property, they're very careful. We use the term fair market value. So. That's fine, except if you're donating something that gains or has a gain, increases in value.
Like an antique.
Yes. So the idea is they don't want you to make a profit on your donation. So if you donate something that has increased in value, you are required to essentially the bottom line is you're only allowed to deduct the basis. What you paid for it. And the way to think about that is, otherwise, if you did claim the higher amount, then you need to go back and pay taxes on the gain. So the IRS will usually say it's the fair market value minus the increase in value is what you're allowed to take, so which is the basis. So that's just a brief statement, so people can't say bought a $100 item and it's worth $500, and they're going to claim $500 for the donation. It doesn't work that way. So I want to go back and just kind of clarify the breakdown on values we're talking about. The record keeping, which is important. So under $250, and then these categories will be cash and non-cash donations. Under $250, you have to keep receipts, as we mentioned before, bank statements. That's the kind of thing which will have the date when the item was donated. On non-cash contributions, you just need a receipt, which is the typical card that you get. If the value of the item is between $250 and $500, and actually the same thing will apply on all cash donations. Same thing, receipts, documented. Non-cash on between $250 and $500, you need a written acknowledgement. Now that's that card they hand you at Goodwill. They need to show the date, and you put the description, but they're not required to record fair market value. 501 to 5,000, cash is the same, but non-cash, you have to list you have to document how you acquired it, how you determine the basis, and how you're coming up with the amount you're donating. Then again, we said over 5,000, you must have written appraisals that are filed with the return. The next thing I wanted to go into is the common thing: donate your car. We will pick up your car and we will give you
she signs all the time.
All the time.
Pay $300 for your junk car.
So the common is, and again, we kept saying fair market value on all these things. Well, that doesn't necessarily hold true on a car donation. If a charity takes the car, immediately turns it around and sells it for you, it's called the gross proceeds rule. You're only able to deduct the gross proceeds of what they sell it for. So you donate a car and you want to claim $800. They turn around and sell it for $600. You can only claim $600. That's called the gross proceeds rule. However, if they take the vehicle and they keep it for an extended period of time and they put improvements into it, then you can take the fair market value deduction.
So let's say they...
at the time you donated it.
Okay, let's say they got for example, a junked Mustang.
Okay.
Rusty, it's sitting out in the backyard, it's worth, scrap metal, it's worth... It's a Mustang, so let's say $500. Okay. But they take it, and it's a shop, and they trick it out, they put chrome wheels on it, they put the blown engine in it, and it just make it a hot rod, and now it's worth $30,000. Let's just go for the moon here.
Sure.
Okay.
You get the $500. The fair market value when you donated it.
Well, yeah,
really?
I did it in Denver a couple of times with the Boys and Girls Club, and they allowed me to determine the value. Now it's changed, and the bummer of that part is I gave my other card to a friend, to a kid, rather than donate it to a charity. It was just easier.
The third example they have, which is it's called let's take that $800 car, and they just turn around, and if it's called a gratuitous donation because someone is down and out, and they just give it to someone else, then you're allowed to take either the lesser of the fair market. Well, you're able to take at least $500. That's, again, they turn around and they just give it to someone, didn't sell it. It's a needy thing. Or the other example I'll give you: if you donate a car, it's valued at $800. They turn around and sell it for $300. There's a provision there where you can claim at least $500. You kind of get the $500 rule. If your value is way up here and they are going way under it, you at least can get at least $500. But that other case, the example where you have a really nice vehicle and you want to put, say, $1,500 and they sell it for $5, you get $5.
Now, I hear a lot of people out there hearing that you can give a car to somebody and claim $500. Now, I gave my car away. He wasn't poor. I'm not poor. Do you have to prove that the person was in need?
No, it goes back to the charity. The donation has to go to a charity. Goes back to our old rule.
Okay.
It has to go to a recognized charity that is taking care of the distribution.
Okay.
And then they can do it that way.
We're going to take one more break. We'll be back with a few final thoughts with Robert White, John Gibson, and myself. Valley Talk. We're talking tax tips on Valley Talk. It's tax time coming up. Be right back.
Celebrate the spirit of the horse at the Northwest Horse Fair and Expo, presented by Bison Coach, March 21st through the 24th in Albany. Kick up your heels with the fun of the Equine Extravaganza on opening night, March 21st. Enjoy a magical medley of horses, choreography, color, costumes, and comedy, all with horses at the Northwest Horse Fair. Don't miss the fun of the All-Breed Challenge, as horses of all types and sizes ride an intricate obstacle course competing for cash and prizes. Pick a a winner and root for your favorite horse in the All-Breed Challenge. Learn from world-class equine experts, teaching horse training, trail riding skills, dressage, western riding, and much more at the Northwest Horse Fair. And there's fantastic shopping. 2 buildings house a gigantic trade show with everything for horse owners and horse lovers. Bring the whole family to the Northwest Horse Fair and Expo, March 21st through the 24th in Albany, and celebrate the spirit of the horse. For more info, go to equinepromotions.net. That's equinepromotions.net.
Finding your perfect match takes time. Yet this Saturday, you can finally get yours during Free Paint Saturday at Economy Supply Building Center. Get a free quart Saturday of your perfect color from the new Clark & Kensington Paint and Primer in One. Stop searching and find your soul paint from Ace, the helpful place. See Economy Supply for in-store coupon. Offer ends March 16th while supplies last. Limit 1 per household. Most colors available for tinting. See store for details. It's time to get your weekends back with help from your neighborhood Ace. Economy Supply Building Center, Lebanon.
Jay Farner here from Quicken Loans. We get a lot of tweets from folks that sound just like this. Jay, I bought my home in 2007. Since then, it's gone down in value. Now I owe more on my mortgage than my home is worth. Can I refinance? The answer may very well be yes. Recently, the government announced changes that may allow folks to refinance even if their home has lost value. For example, if you owe $300,000 on your mortgage, but your home's only worth $150,000, Quicken Loans may still be able to help you. Or if your current mortgage rate is higher than 3.99%, you've got to give us a call today at 800-QUICKEN. And for 3 years in a row now, J.D. Power & Associates has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. So if your current mortgage is higher than 3.99%, or if you owe more than your home is worth, call Quicken Loans today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com.
For J.D. Power & Associates award information, visit jdpower.com. Important terms and conditions apply. Calls for cost information. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states and MLS number 33.
Panic is not a successful investment strategy, but unfortunately, it's often the response of investors when the markets catch them off guard. Hi, I'm Doug Phillips, your Edward Jones financial advisor here in Lebanon. Let's work together to prepare for the market's unpredictable ups and downs. We'll focus on a long-term, disciplined approach to investing instead of overreacting to the daily headlines. Stop by my office at 2600 South Main Road in Lebanon or call 541-451-4000 to make a face-to-face appointment. Edward Jones, Making Sense of Investing, member SIPC.
Get tomorrow's news tonight. John Batchelor, Sunday through Friday nights on Smart Talk 1580.
KGAL Valley Talk, Tax Talk, and we're here with Robert White, H&R Block, enrolled tax agent, John Gibson, our average investment guy with us on the show. Don't forget to sign up for Quiznos Taste on Us. Need your entry here in the next couple of minutes. Dave at KGAL.com or call the station. Robert, there were some interesting things about business trips versus trips taken for charities and business trip. Different amounts.
Well, and I want to, before that, I want to preface, remember, John is the one that said you can deduct, take giving the car to your best friend. No, you can't do
right.
It was
That's
not,
right. Direct it to me.
I didn't say that. And it's just a side note. It's as a tax tip, interesting. If you could take a business trip and extend, it's on business and you travel, you can only take 50% of your meals as a deduction. Whereas if you're on that, if you donate in your time and you're going to help a charity, it's 100% of your costs. It's just an interesting little twist on that.
Let's say you're going overseas to build a church in Guatemala.
Yes.
Write it off?
Yes.
Really?
The cost, your out-of-pocket costs to go down there. Again, it's the purpose is not your benefits. So if you're going down there and you're working in the jungle and sweating and building that church, and your out-of-pocket costs when you go down to come
let's
back.
say you're doing it for a church that's down there and not through a local church here. Gray area?
Gray, yes. It needs to be under the auspices, again, of...
It has to go through a middle person like the cars.
Middle person. It's got it, and that's the whole point. And that, again, that's the point of making sure people don't abuse it, because the key thing is, as we mentioned at the beginning, it's got to be with an organization that is approved, and by being approved, then it can be documented.
Okay, Robert White will be back here in the studios the 19th of March, one more time this month, and the next month, the 2nd and the 9th of April, 2 more times in April before that April 15th. Robert, John, thank you for being with us on Valley Talk today. Get your Quiznos Taste on Us applications or submissions for entry in now, davidkgal.com. And you, my friend, make it a great day. Make lots of money, okay?
Locally owned and operated, this is the very independent News Talk 1580 KGAL, Lebanon, Albany, Corvallis.